Do the Farlands exist on Minecraft's oldest anarchy server? This is a question that has been asked ever since 2011. To most Minecraft players, the Farlands are an almost mystical place from when Minecraft was in its early years. A corruption at the edges of all Minecraft worlds. For years, the question of whether the Farlands exist on 2b2t or not has remained quite the mystery, and today, we are getting to the bottom of it. Do they actually exist? Or is all the evidence an elaborate hoax? Today we are going to discuss how the Farlands could have been generated on 2b2t, and the potential proof, including speaking to several of the original 2b2t players and showing potential photographic evidence. If you are not familiar with the oldest anarchy server in Minecraft, 2b2t.org, and its nearly decade-long history, get caught up on all the history by hitting that subscribe button down below. Alright, the plug's out of the way. Let's do this. While Farland chunks still exist in the Bedrock versions of the game, they haven't been in the Java edition in a very long time, since 2011. 2b2t opened in 2010, which means that the server was online during the time when generating Farlands on the servers was possible. But it wasn't a very large window. Assuming someone attempted to travel there by the overworld, it likely wouldn't have been possible without exploits. YouTuber Kurt J. Max started walking there in 2011, and he's still going to this day. Now, if the Nether is taken into account, it becomes a little more possible, but still unlikely. Users of the 2b2t Reddit explain, the Nether was implemented in multiplayer in beta 1.6, and the Farlands were removed in beta 1.8, meaning there were only 112 days for someone to get to the Farlands. Even without enchantments, or ender chests, or sprinting, it would have been possible to get to the Farlands in time using the Nether, but the amount of work and resources involved would have been astronomical. The walking speed in Minecraft is 4.3 meters per second, which means that it would have taken just over 4 full days of non-stop walking. Digging the netherrack with an unenchanted diamond pickaxe would be fast enough for just walking, but it would have taken someone over 16,000 diamond pickaxes to mine the tunnel from 0-0. Now, there was a dupe going on at the time, but was it powerful enough to have created 16,000 diamond pickaxes? And not only that, how would you have been able to carry them all? Shulker boxes didn't exist back then. From a vanilla standpoint, it just does not seem possible that someone could have made it there. However, since this is 2b2t, there are other ways to accomplish goals, including exploits. But knowing this, I decided to ask some long-time 2b2t players from the early days about their experiences, and if they were ever aware of the Farlands existing. And here's what they had to say. XCC2, a 2b2t legend, one of the original players, and my old Aureus basemate said of his experience. I only remember some chatter about the Farlands back when they were discovered as being a thing in Minecraft. I remember a post on FacePunch with screenshots, but I've looked and I can't find the post again. So either my memory is bad, or the screenshots are gone. Honestly, I'm not sure I believe anyone saw them or went out that far at the time. There was a free cam teleport exploit that was active for about 24 hours at one point, and this was used by a few people to teleport to the millions. I think the world border also, but by then there were no Farlands. Basically, those areas would have had to been generated before September 2011. I have my doubts that those chunks were ever generated. And that's what XCC2 had to say. CGT Dream, a longtime 2b2t player and perhaps the biggest Farlands enthusiast on the server, had this to say. The Farlands were generated, but the coords are lost to history. I know for a fact that they are in the negative-positive quadrant, as House himself confirmed when coordinates were dropped in chat circa 2013. I spent most of 2014 searching for them in one quad where they were mentioned being in, but to no avail. I still base in this quadrant, and have found several old tunnels that I have never come across before, but haven't yet explored them all. Perhaps someone or a group of folks should take some time to explore the region and see what happens. CGT Dream also gave some more information, and it seems that all of the original proof has been lost to time. But now that we've heard from some longtime players, we're going to examine the evidence that we do have. So let's take a look at the first set of images. Now this image was posted in an album to the 2b2t's subreddit a couple of years ago. In the image, you can see Farland chunks as well as a message in the chat box. The screenshot was taken with worst hack client. In the next photo, it shows what appears to be a giant trapped inside player-placed bedrock. And in the third photo, it shows the bedrock up close with the giant missing. The original poster claimed that his kill aura was left on by accident, and that he had killed it. And that was the extent of the post. Now right away, there's a few red flags. First off, there are no coordinates posted. If you wanted to prove that the Farlands existed on the server, you would have to post coordinates so that they could be verified by someone else. Second of all, just a single message in chat is something that is easily faked. There are no 2b2t death messages in the chat box, and that is something that is much harder to replicate. There's no tab screen showing that the server is 2b2t, which would be one of the easier ways to show the screenshot is legitimate. Now, in the next shot, sure, bedrock has been an illegal item used by players in the past, and structures have been built with it, but the giant makes me raise an eyebrow. There has never been evidence that unused mobs such as giants or zombie horses have been illegally spawned in on 2b2t. Considering the numerous server backdoors that have happened in the past, we would have seen them if this was possible. I mean, I remember in 2015 watching Pyrobites spawn ghasts with eggs in order to protect the Wrath outpost during the third incursion. I've seen a thing or two, and I have never seen giants. Also, notice how the player in the screenshot just happens to have a sign in their inventory when stumbling upon these chunks. Almost like they placed them in creative and then switched to survival and forgot to take them out. Overall, I think this particular set of screenshots are fake, and this entire post is just one big hoax. But next, we have a screenshot posted more recently on the 2b2t subreddit from a player claiming that they had found the Farlands on 2b2t. In the screenshot, we see a player standing near Farland chunks using a hack client and with the 2b2t chat clearly in the window. At first glance, this one definitely appears to be more convincing, but it's easily picked apart. First off, if you zoom in, you'll see that stone variants andesite, diorite, and granite are all inside the chunks. These blocks did not exist in 2011, so it would not have been possible for Farland chunks to spawn with them. Zooming in on the waterline, you'll notice that the watercolor changes in a straight line, quite unnaturally next to the chunks. Due to world generation changes throughout Minecraft's ongoing development, early chunks on 2b2t have not kept their biomes from the early versions of the game, which is why that there are deserts near spawn that have snow in them, or forests that have dried up and turned into deserts. So for watercolor to suddenly change in a straight line right next to the chunks simply wouldn't happen. This sudden line implies that the image has been digitally altered, and of course no coordinates posted, so nobody's able to verify if it's even on the server. Once again, the screenshot might fool the casual observer, but in the end, it is clearly a fake. Now the final screenshot evidence that we currently have just happens to be the most convincing. This screenshot seems a little dark, doesn't it? Well, let's brighten it up real quick. This image was taken from one of the early 2b2t face punch threads. In it, there is a clear corruption of chunks very reminiscent of the Farlands. And due to the shot being taken directly from the face punch thread, it's an authentic 2b2t screenshot. This cannot be faked. While it might seem like this was taken in the Farlands, It's actually a unique chunk corruption that would occur on 2b2t when using one of the old boat exploits. If you traveled through the air by boat too quickly, the new chunks you came into contact with would sometimes only partially load in, giving chunks these strange corruptions. These corruptions are similar to the ones seen in the Farland chunks, and it's easy to see why players may have been confused by seeing this. While it's a very neat looking corruption, it's not the Farlands. And that's pretty much all the photographic evidence that we have. With everything I've shown you today, and all the things that we have discussed, what is the verdict? Do the Farlands exist on 2b2t? Based on what we know and what evidence we have, I would say unlikely. Not impossible, but it is very unlikely that these chunks were generated in time. The only way I could see them being real is if someone used a travel exploit during the beta window of opportunity. It might always remain a mystery, but that's the beautiful part about it. Only on 2b2t could you have an urban legend like this. Now, if you want to find out if they're real or not, you could always log into 2b2t for yourself and join CGT Dream in his hunt for the Farlands out at 12 million. I mean, who knows? You might be the player to find them. You'd only become a 2b2t legend in the process. No big deal. But a special shout out to AntVenom for allowing me to use his Farlands footage in the video. If you liked the video, make sure to subscribe for more 2b2t content and history. And if you haven't already, make sure to follow me on Instagram and Twitter, which are both in the description below. If the Farlands do exist on 2b2t, perhaps one day we'll find them. Stay alive out there, Fit Fam.